My mum is pressuring me to add me as a third person on her $820,000 mortgage. I really don't want to, as my husband and I are looking to buy our own home. She states that doing this will build my credit for a new mortgage down the line. So my 25 female, mother, 60 female, and her boyfriend had a house in Ottawa which was a nice home. She has always hated the home for reasons that I think could have easily been renovated. Example, new shower tiles, new doors, or adding basic finishes to the basement. It was a new build at the time, 2017. I, as well as the mortgage advisor, advised against it, given that the new home she wanted went for $820,000, and she still had quite a lot left on her mortgage. In the end, the bank pre-approved her and her boyfriend for $500,000 with the knowledge that the rest of the fees will be covered using the profit from her old home. Fast forward to now, she keeps asking me to come on as a third person, given that with my good job, and with a salary of over $65,000, the pre-approval amount will be higher. The issue is, I am now married, and my husband and I are also saving up to buy a home in the next few years. She dismissed it, and said doing this with her will build my credit, and when I'm ready to buy a home, the bank will approve me, and she will definitely co-sign with us. Is this a thing? Because she went and told her mortgage advisor that I'm interested, but I don't think she gave her the details. Not only that, I'm pregnant and will be going on maternity leave, which means that it's not the time to think about things like this because I will technically be on employment insurance, which is exactly why my husband and I are waiting until I get back to work and he gains more seniority in his work. I'm at a loss on what to do because my mum has screwed me over for small amounts of money, so that alone I don't trust. But it's the fact that she's already telling the mortgage advisor I want in, and she is disregarding the fact that I'm married with her own grandkid on the way. However, she did state doing this will build my credit and it'll be easier to qualify for a new mortgage down the line with my husband. And now in the comments, no. The bank will see you as having a massive liability. This will make it much harder, as in the eyes of the bank, you will already be on the hook for a mortgage. And the fact that her mum didn't bother to get the facts and is lying to her and making her daughter's future worse so she can have a bigger house is a huge red flag. And OP replies, and that's the thing. I don't know if she genuinely doesn't know how this works, or if she's just lying to me and she does know. That's irrelevant. You expose yourself to immediate financial loss by doing this, loss of first-time homebuyer status. You also expose yourself to massive long-term risk. Your mother is 60. Assuming a 25-year term, is she going to work to age 85 to pay this off? If she decides she doesn't want to or cannot pay it anymore, you are on the hook. You are also exposed to family stress risk. You will be financially bound to your mother during the term of the loan. Anything she does to jeopardize repayment will be a big stressor for you. Opens a HELOC to buy a new car, extravagant vacation, things like that will cause you stress. On top of that, your borrowing power will be neutered. The bank will act as if that mortgage is yours. I had a situation where my father's car loan was accidentally under my name. We share the same name and address, and that almost screwed me out of approval for my mortgage if I couldn't prove that it was an error. You should not do this. You should talk to a mortgage broker, and if that broker misleads you into believing it is in your financial interest to do this, you should report them. And OP says, thank you. And yes, I made an appointment with her mortgage advisor to tell him I want no part, and tell him the truth that I think my mum did not tell him. And now, on to the update. So last week I posted what my mother was trying to do, which was have me co-sign her mortgage. Many people have asked for an update. Yesterday, I spoke with the mortgage advisor, who not only admitted that my mom was a difficult client, as she was trying to do the impossible by getting this mortgage, but he also revealed that the reason she needed me to co-sign the mortgage was because she did not want to listen to his recommendation, which was to return the car that she had leased, on which the maturity date is almost due, and to not finance a new car until she gets her mortgage funded, 2 months max. This is to ensure that she does not have too much debt, and that her pre-approval amounts stay the same. Instead of doing that, she wanted me on the mortgage so she can increase the funding approval rate and get a new car financed. My husband and I were disgusted and shocked. The mortgage advisor was very honest and stated that if I get in on this, it will significantly reduce my borrowing power and I will be on the hook for years. He even joked and asked, "Would you like to stay stuck renting with the inability to borrow and a huge dip on your credit while she drives the newest fancy car and lives in a big home?" He told us not to do it and to think of our future. We're expecting a baby in the fall. To cut it short, most of you were right. She had no intention of helping me in the long run, and it was only to satisfy her needs while having no issues leaving my husband and baby and I on the hook for almost $1 million. I've confronted my mum, who has yet to answer my texts, and my husband has suggested that we cut contact with her. I wanted to take the time to thank all of you for your honest advice, and to the mortgage advisor who put reality before money. Shout out to that mortgage broker who had OP's back more than her own mother did. Yup, we were pleasantly surprised. Not all financial advisors are money hungry after all. Don't throw him under the bus though. He broke client confidentiality to cover for you. Oh, of course, I would never. Don't take financial advice from someone at 60 that is looking for co-signers on a mortgage, full stop. 60 with an $800K mortgage also? Good way to never retire. OP says, crying emojis, noted. I'm glad you got this sorted out when your mom was really pushing you and preying on your emotional state. But man, I went through a roller coaster just reading your first post. The lies were so blatant and the information so erroneous that I am so glad that agent had a moral compass and told you the truth point blank, because I'm telling you, this would have really screwed you over. No one in their right mind would think that this was a good idea, and your mum is vile for even attempting this. That sounds like something my mum would do. Not that she didn't try. I've always lived with my dad as she gave up on my custody, and when I started working this year, she expected me to give her part of my paycheck despite living with my dad and never going to her place. Hey, we have a similar mum. Mine sold her cabin, her second home, and complained she didn't have a good way to invest the money she made, about $200K. So she offered to loan it to me so I could buy a house that she wanted to use to vacation in anytime she wanted. So she told me where I should buy it, which is about 2 hours from where I work and live now, and she'd charge me only 6% interest. This is only a few years ago, so yeah, she wanted to charge me 2 to 3 times the going rate at the bank. Gee, thanks mom. Toxic mum high five. You gotta be a special kind of person to try and profit off your children, to be honest. Cough cough, every family YouTuber, cough cough. Unexposed is titled, Am I the asshole for being upset that my siblings are getting part of an inheritance, but I'm not because I'm a recovering addict? So my parents are pretty wealthy. I'm 26, and from 21 to 25, I was in and out of rehabs. I was abusing so many different kinds of drugs, and I wasted so much money. I OD'd once, and it destroyed my family to watch me go through that. I am intensely ashamed of who I was as a person, and I've been sober for almost a year. My parents are now approaching their late 60s, and have started finalizing their wills and inheritance. Yesterday, they sat me down and told me that I will not be getting any of the inheritance, as they don't trust me not to relapse with all that money suddenly in my possession, and as a result, my siblings will be getting my share of the money. I was pretty upset about this, and I said that they were going to make my siblings rich while I would get nothing from it, and that wasn't fair. I was almost yelling at this point. They told me to calm down, but I was too upset to listen, and I left. I called my brother and sister after I left and told them what my parents said, and they said that it was their choice and there wasn't anything they could do. I accused them of just wanting all the money for themselves and not caring about what happened to me. Today, I have my dad texting me that they're worried about me and disappointed in my behavior yesterday. I talked to my sponsor, and he said that while anger is understandable, I have to do everything in my power not to ruin the trust that I've built with my family over the past year, and acting like an asshole addict won't help. Sometimes I still have trouble with my reactions to things now that I'm sober, however, I don't feel as though I'm entirely unjustified here. Am I the asshole for getting upset? And now in the comments, you're the asshole because you probably spent your share of the inheritance every time they tried to help you. Seriously, add up every dollar they've spent on your addiction, or ask them to add it up, and then ask yourself if you deserve any more. Don't forget all the time and emotional labor that goes with all this. How many days off or vacations got sidelined? How many sleepless nights? Emotional/relationship damage caused by things said or done while OP was under the influence. OP, you took up way more than your fair share, and way more than the inheritance is even worth. And OP replies, that's a fair point. As a PS, if you stay sober, your parents will treat you more responsibly over time. 1 year is nothing in recovery. Maybe several years or more down the line, when you are living a respectable life and they see that their money will go into your house, education, or something else which you have built between now and then, they will reconsider. I think timing is a major factor here. And OP says, it feels like forever. Hey, I just want to say good for you for making it a year. Having said that, people are right. That's not a long time. I know someone who was an addict and they cleaned up their act for 9 years before relapsing worse than before. Luckily, he got clean again, but you really need time to make people trust you again. Maybe they never will, but sometimes that's what happens when you go through this. To the people who have watched you be an addict for multiple years, 1 year of sobriety is a mere blink of an eye. And OP says, I know, but it still feels like forever. It's not. You are still likely to be an addict again. What they are doing is smart. You're the asshole. Your parents are concerned for your life. Also, your parents are only 60-ish, so there's a good chance that they will be alive for at least 10 years. I believe USA life expectancy is north of 70. That leaves plenty of time to amend the will. You are only a year out of rehab, so your parents are just making plans for the way things are today. And to edit, just reread that as late 60s, but the point still remains. They have to plan based on today, not based on what it could be 10 years from now. And OP says, but the way things are now won't always be the case. First, congrats on nearly a year. That being said, you spent nearly 1/5 of your life in rehab. I wouldn't blame them for not trusting you yet, especially since I would bet that you were using before the rehab. I'm guessing your parents paid for that, not to mention all the attention that had to be put on you that could have gone to your siblings. Addicts are an Olympic-sized pool's drain on a family's mental health and finances. They worried about you. They made sure you were getting help, paid for it, and you repay them by going ballistic about that they won't treat you as if you did nothing wrong to them? And OP says, yeah, they did pay for it. I believe I saw that you said it'll be around $400,000, the inheritance. Going by a quick Google search, your parents could have easily gone through that in a 4-year rehab stint. You're the asshole. You're entitled to your feelings, but you are not entitled to their money. Your parents have every right to choose who they leave their money to. And OP says, I don't think I'm entitled, but I do think since they are giving it to my siblings too, that makes it unfair. Life is unfair. Your parents have legitimate concerns, and your sense of fairness doesn't get to overrule that. And now onto the update. My first post wasn't hugely popular, but I wanted to update anyways. After what happened with my parents, I won't lie, I relapsed. I had a weekend where I blacked out. I remember getting back to my apartment and all the drugs and booze I had bought was gone. And it was a Monday morning. It was a lot of stuff. I scared myself so much, I ended up calling my parents saying that they were right, and I remembered everyone's advice on my last post, and I apologized for how I treated them, and that they were right in not giving me any of the money. I'm now 3 weeks sober, and I took Reddit's advice and made a compromise with my parents in regards to my inheritance. If I remain at least 5 years sober and submit to a bi-monthly drug test, they will reconsider my part of the money. I hope they do reconsider. I know I have a lot of work to do, and I still have a lot of selfishness to overcome, but I wanted to thank everyone for helping me try to realize that. Here's to 3 weeks and more. And now in the comments, you are 3 weeks sober. You relapsed in the past and will likely again. It's pretty normal and expected to fall back when you enter group therapy and MAT therapy. They will talk about this with you. You can't and won't beat this alone. You need help, and it's okay to ask for it and use the services available to you. Millions of Americans have substance abuse problems. It's more common than you think, but there is only one legit solution. You can't expect your family to trust you after 3 weeks. You can't expect them to trust you ever again. It's fully up to them when they will bring that trust back, and you can't do anything about that. Get help. Join the addiction thread. Talk to an addiction doctor and get the ball rolling. They will help you with the withdrawal, family issues, and mental issues caused by the abuse, but most importantly, they will get to the core of your addiction so it can be properly addressed. Your parents owe you nothing. It seems like they already saved your life once and spent a lot of money doing it. Make your own money. Not everyone has rich parents. You should just appreciate their unconditional love. They worked hard their whole lives for their money. You were not entitled to it even if you were sober. Also, be sober for you, not for money. Abso-effing-lutely couldn't agree more. Being sober for money will kill you when the money comes. Addiction might take a break while you're sober, but will pick up where it left off and can sometimes pick up steam for lost ground if it gets traction. A sudden influx of money is almost always a destructive force if your foundation for sobriety is built on anything but a solid cornerstone. I quit weed cold turkey like 11 months ago after smoking daily for like 15 plus years. God, I spent so much money on that crap, like $160 to $300 plus bucks every month. I don't really miss it. It's weird, but weed isn't exactly a hard drug either. I'm shocked that after relapsing, phoning, and apologizing to your parents, you still managed to really quickly make it about just the money that you will inherit when they die, and have already negotiated a deal on that. As though children are entitled to inheriting their parents' money. Your parents are in their 60s. They might have 30 years left. Stop thinking about your parents' money. Earn your own and look after yourself, and who knows what will happen in like 10, 20, 30 years. To me, it seems like they were panicked about his relapse and told him what he needed to hear about money. Although, as a complete outsider, I obviously could be wrong. I'm getting the same feeling too. They'll probably mention him in the will though. You more or less proved their point. At the first hurdle, you immediately used again. If they give you a penny more, you'll just relapse. Having previously worked in estate planning, there are ways to leave money to a child or beneficiary that is an addict. You take their part of the inheritance and put it into a trust administered by a trustee. Someone they trust, perhaps a sibling, can act as a trustee. That trust can pay bills directly like rent or mortgage, utilities, etc., without giving the addict cash to use for drugs. It can be done. Had the parents consulted with a competent attorney, they would know this. Alright, and that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it down below, and I'll see you later. Bye.